Hey there, Rednecks, Preppies, Redneck Preppies. It's me, the Redneck Preppy. How you doing today? Great? Good. Just a friendly reminder that the Redneck Preppy can also be found on Rumble and Odyssey. Links are in the description below. A book review this week, and not even a new book. So this video might not be of interest to many, but I thought it worthwhile to spotlight this one. I was reminded of Alexander Rose's American Rifle, a biography, which was released all the way back in 2008, recently while doing some research, and found it to be useful and entertaining enough that I thought you might be interested in hearing about it. In some circles, it's not politically correct to say it these days, but the continuing refinement of the rifle may be among the greatest achievements of the United States. Not simply because it's become more advanced and lethal over the centuries, though it certainly has accomplished that, but because the spillover effects, which include the propagation of industry, engineering, craftsmanship, and invention, and controversially to some, its role in promoting freedom in the hands of the American soldier and citizen. Rose explores the history of the rifle in American Rifle, a book that I found to be among the finest examples of a concise, pleasing, and informative recounting of this technology's past, present, and possible future, and the web of connections that it has to all aspects of American society. Utilizing primary sources and first-hand accounts, Rose illustrates how quintessentially American the rifle really is. Given America's melting pot, Rose argues it shouldn't be surprising that the rifle's origins in America actually began in Germany, where they were the province of wealthy hunters. Brought to America by early German settlers to Pennsylvania, they were responsible for what ultimately became known as the Kentucky rifle, allegedly so named because of Daniel Boone's preference for them when traveling in the frontier areas. They were bespoke in nature, these rifles, each handcrafted by tradesmen for specific purposes. As technology progressed, so did the rifle, a largely unbroken line, which stretches from the flintlocks used during the American Revolution, World War II's M1 Garand, the M16 of Vietnam, and its cousin, the M4 today. It wasn't a smooth transition, Rose writes, and it featured a number of dead ends on its evolutionary tree, often the result of ideology or a lack of foresight. It's often said that generals fight the last war, but American Rifle makes it clear that America's soldiers sometimes did that with rifles from the last war. And for a nation so inextricably tied to the rifle, it's a shock to learn how many times America's soldiers have marched into battle with substandard arms, something that I've certainly noted in a few of my videos. As Rose shows, the rifle spawned a number of philosophical debates, some of which lasted for centuries. Though the era of armies firing muskets and volleys was disappearing, many officers still demanded the ability to control exactly when each soldier fired. An example are the magazine cutoffs that you find on the M1892 Craig Jorgensen and the M1903 Springfield. Many military leaders saw the rifle as a problem, as it allowed soldiers to fire more quickly, versus the good old musket's capabilities, thereby forcing armies to carry more ammunition. And up until the 20th century, it was also debated whether American soldiers should be sharpshooters, carefully firing, each round, or should they lay down a brutally suppressive fire to hopefully wipe out the enemy. Think of the change from the M1903 Springfield to the M1 Garand as a real-world illustration of that argument over philosophy. That America and its history are intimately intertwined with the story of the rifle is hardly a new contention. In the hands of scholars, that has, however, often served as the starting point for ideological screeds, which typically attack firearms and the United States itself. Rose could have easily succumbed to editorializing on either side of the firearms rights issue, but instead, American Rifle engages the subject thoughtfully and neutrally, and allowing the reader to draw their own conclusions. This is one of those rare efforts which doesn't use history as a hammer, but as a magnifying glass. If I can offer one note, American Rifle isn't meant to be a deep technical dive into the subject. You aren't going to get an extensive recounting of the battle over what to chamber the M1 Garand in. And frankly, a book covering this length of a time period with that approach would be unwieldy, even if a small number of people would happily live in it for years of reading. It's a lay introduction to the history with just enough detail to make an interested reader want to do more granular research on whatever subject that Rose touches on. So, do I recommend this? There have been many other efforts chronicling the history of firearms and specifically rifles in the United States, but few are as enjoyable and compelling as American Rifle. The rifle is, as John J. Pershing stated, distinctively an American weapon, and it has a history as grand as the nation that spawned it. Thanks to Rose in the form of this book, it also has a biography worthy of it. At any rate, I hope you found today's video to at least be vaguely entertaining and mildly informative. As always, I hope you have a great day. Take care, and bye-bye.